Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wednesday, January 4th. We are officially in the new year, 2023, and it's been crazy thus far. Yesterday, we all got together and watched Brian basically walk in a room and walk out. We had a lot of stuff coming out about him in regards to, as they call them, the Idaho Four. We know they have names. Ethan, Kaylee, Madison, and Xana brutally murdered in Moscow, Idaho, November 13th. Like I said, a lot of stuff coming out about Brian. Also, what came out yesterday is that there is now a gag order in Latah County. They said it will not affect the probable cause. The probable cause, we all know, is just enough to get him arrested, or in this case, get 3 search warrants and bust in the doors and drag him to jail in Pennsylvania. It is what it is. So going forward, after the probable cause, nobody's allowed to speak. Now, we've seen this in other cases, and I do feel very, very bad for the families going forward because they don't share information with them either. I don't know why this case would be any different, but this case has been different in a lot of ways. A lot of ways. Let's look at this clip together, talking about the gag order and a few other things, kind of a recap from Pennsylvania yesterday. Leave me a comment, and we'll be live in a few hours, and we're going to discuss this more.
And good evening. Thanks for joining us here on the news at 10. More than 7 weeks ago, Moscow, the small college town home to the University of Idaho, was rocked when 4 U of I students were found stabbed to death in an off-campus apartment. Since then, the whole country has been eager for answers. Well, now we're not going to be getting much, or if any, of those answers from anyone involved with the case. Just a few hours ago, a magistrate judge in Latah County issued a gag order preventing anyone, investigators, law enforcement, attorneys, or agents of any attorneys from talking about this case publicly. That is, saying anything that is not already part of the public record. And this order will remain in effect until the verdict is reached or if this ruling is changed by a court. The decision came just hours after Brian Kohberger, the suspect in the brutal killings, waived his right to an extradition hearing in a Pennsylvania courtroom, meaning he will soon be back in Idaho to face those 4 murder charges. So how soon? Well, Abby Davis joins us now. And Abby, Pennsylvania State Police said they really didn't have a specific time or day when Kohberger will be back in Idaho.
That is correct, Brian, but they also said they do want Kohberger in Idaho as soon as possible. But until then, the community of Moscow and people around the country sit and wait for answers about how and why police zeroed in on Kohberger.
Brian, what you doing?
28-year-old Brian Kohberger could be back in Idaho any day now after waiving his extradition hearing Tuesday afternoon in Pennsylvania. Kohberger is accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students, Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez. The 4 were stabbed to death in a house just off U of I's campus on November 13th. During Tuesday's news conference, Pennsylvania State Police Major Christopher Paris said they want Kohberger in Idaho as soon as possible, but didn't give any details on how they'll transport him because of security reasons.
The court order says 10 days. We have 10 days to coordinate it.
Kohberger is a Washington State University graduate student studying criminology less than 10 miles away from U of I. He's charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. Paris says police arrested Kohberger at his parents' house in Pennsylvania on Friday morning after watching him for several days. Paris wouldn't give an exact timeline.
And we wanted to go in at a time when we thought it would be the safest for everybody, safest for anybody else in the house, safest for Mr. Kohberger, and safest for our people.
Monroe County First Assistant District Attorney Michael Mancuso says they got 3 separate search warrants. 1 for Kohberger himself, 1 for a white Hyundai Elantra Kohberger was driving, and 1 for his parents' address. Mancuso also extended his condolences to the 4 victims' families.
It's my sincere hope that this marks a clear step in the right direction of effectuating justice for those folks.
Once Kohberger returns to Idaho, the state will read the charges against him, and a judge will unseal the probable cause affidavit, possibly explaining the motive and what led police to Kohberger. A document with information Mancuso says not even Kohberger knows.
I definitely believe that one of the main reasons the defendant chose to waive extradition and hurry his return back to Idaho was the need to know what was in those documents.
After Koberger's initial court appearance in Latah County, he has the right to a preliminary hearing, which he could waive and go to a trial. But we know, Brian, based on previous comments from Koberger's public defender who represented him in the extradition process, that Koberger will likely plead not guilty and believes that he will be exonerated.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what that happens. Obviously, he has to be back into Idaho in order to do that. We don't know when that will be. And to be clear, this gag order issued by the Latah County Magistrate Judge should not affect the release of the probable cause affidavit that was mentioned there. We will learn why investigators believe Koberger is their man. That is all in those documents, but it will mean we won't be able to get answers from police or attorneys outside of court should we have any questions about what is in that paperwork.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you very much, Abby. Of course, we will continue to follow this story and keep you updated as we learn more. For the latest information,